In the United States last year, about 65% of people met the exercise criteria set up in the 2008 Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans. According to Balanced Body, a Pilates equipment and information company, just 3 years ago, Pilates had over 10 million participants in the U.S. Mat exercises like Pilates and yoga have attracted men and women, professional dancers, and curious university students. Tara DeWalt is an exercise science student at the University of New Mexico, and she says she's trying Pilates for a new experience.
I've always heard it was a good workout, and I just wanted to try something new.
DeWalt's Pilates instructor at UNM is Vanessa Mikan. Mikan is a PhD student who teaches other exercise classes at UNM, but says Pilates has been instrumental in her life.
I went from my bachelor's straight into my master's straight into my PhD. So as you can imagine, quite a bit of stress, I'm always pretty stressed out. But I think by applying the principles of Pilates, I'm able to control my actions, I'm able to center myself, I'm able to concentrate, and I always know when to back away a little bit. So I always say using that inner intuition of the body, because I always instruct my students, know how to challenge yourselves, but don't hurt yourselves, right?
Like Mikan, Woody Compton is an exercise instructor. He and his wife's Albuquerque studio, Body Language, is another place where people can go to not only exercise, but maybe learn to manage their mental health.
When a person engages in any sort of activity that is challenging, that is taking them out of their comfort zone, they're coming into a much deeper relationship with themselves. And they're learning things about themselves that they otherwise wouldn't have learned, and they're learning lessons.
Tara DeWalt says her experience with Pilates has had the effect of yoga in that all elements of her health have been included.
It's kind of like yoga where it does help relax your mind and body. Like, I know I sleep better since I've started, so I think that helps contribute to it some. It helps relax me and not quite as stressful.
The two mat exercises each entail elements of spirituality that has attracted people over the past few decades.
Joseph Pilates got a lot of his movements and exercises, they were inspired from yoga, and a lot of them are very similar to yoga. I just think there's a key component to a lot of the movements where it really in Pilates is more of an exercise, and a spiritual connection is more of a byproduct that comes through that, whereas yoga comes from a totally different place where the yoga really was part of a spiritual practice. But even that, the asana that most people, or the physical postures and movements in yoga that most people think of when they think of yoga, is really only about 10% of yoga.
Mikan, whose teachers instructed her to implement the spiritual elements of Pilates and yoga into her life, is trying to do the same for her students.
So I think it's very much the instructor's responsibility to guide their students in learning how to control their bodies, learning how to control their thoughts, and bringing them into that state of relaxation and teaching them how they can do this on their own as well. A lot of students say that they can't do a workout without me there because I'm not there and dictating it to them. But then at times I have students who say, man, I did that exercise, that routine at home, and I felt so good afterwards, because they've gotten to that point where they can relax themselves and control their mind.
For some mat exercisers, a spiritual connection isn't their aim. Regardless, these exercises are unique and can offer participants physical and non-physical health benefits, and men, says Mikan, are beginning to see this.
You're working different muscles. It's a whole different set of exercises. And so I definitely think the word is getting out on how awesome Pilates is, how strengthening it can be, how conditioned your body will be, and how it's not just about that, the relaxation process that you do at the same time. A lot of guys might not be into yoga, but something that they can really challenge themselves in. Like some of the students I've had in there, Anthony I've had for close to 2 years now. He's Army ROTC. Who would have thought that he'd be into Pilates as well, but he loves it.
And it goes without saying, but mat exercises are not one size fits all.
It's definitely a different kind of workout. I don't think it's for everyone, but yeah, it's definitely completely different night and day from like riding a bike.
This is Julie Lajeunesse.